Why smart people follow dangerous leaders without questioning. The hidden blueprint exposed here's something that'll keep you up at night. Intelligence doesn't protect you from manipulation. In fact, smart people are often easier to control because they're convinced they're too smart to be fooled. Attention! This video has exclusively educational purposes. We'll analyze historical patterns of manipulation so you can recognize and protect yourself from them in the modern world. Nothing here promotes, supports, or justifies authoritarianism, violence, or discrimination. Think about it. How does someone with zero political experience, zero charisma, and zero credibility convince millions to destroy their own neighbors, to burn books, to report their friends to authorities, to participate in atrocities they'd never imagined doing on their own? The answer isn't what you think. It's not brute force. It's not even lies. It's something far more sophisticated, something I call the blueprint of mass control. And the scariest part, it's operating right now in ways you haven't even noticed. Let me paint you a picture. A European leader in the early 20th century was a failed politician who got dismissed from multiple positions. Nobody took him seriously. He was mocked, ridiculed, dismissed as irrelevant. But in less than 3 years, he went from political outcast to absolute ruler of a major nation. How? He cracked the code. The first step of the blueprint isn't about what the leader tells you. It's about what he makes you believe about yourself. He doesn't sell you a product or an ideology. He sells you an upgraded version of yourself. A more powerful you. A righteous you. A you that matters. Power Law 43 teaches us, work on the hearts and minds of others. And that's exactly what these manipulators do. They don't argue with your logic. They bypass it completely and go straight for your emotions, your insecurities, your desperate need to be part of something bigger than yourself. Here's the psychological trick. When someone validates your deepest fears and angriest resentments, your brain releases dopamine. You literally get high on having your worldview confirmed. And once that happens, you're not following a leader anymore. You're chasing the next hit of validation. Look around you right now. Social media, algorithms, corporate cultures, political movements. They're all using the same blueprint. They identify what makes you feel weak, small, or afraid. Then they offer you an identity that makes you feel strong, important, and righteous. And you buy it. We all do. But here's where it gets darker. Once you've bought into that new identity, questioning the leader means questioning yourself, and that's psychologically painful. So your brain does something insidious. It doubles down. It defends the leader more aggressively. It attacks critics more viciously. Not because you're stupid, because you're human. Practical action. Now, identify one belief you hold passionately. Ask yourself, did I arrive at this conclusion through independent research and critical thinking? Or did I adopt it because it made me feel good about myself? The answer will reveal whether you're thinking or being programmed. Now, you might be thinking, I'm aware of manipulation tactics. I see through this stuff, and that's exactly what makes you the perfect target, because the second step of the blueprint specifically targets people who think they're immune. Type blueprint in the comments if you're starting to see the pattern. Which current leader or brand uses these tactics most effectively? Hit that like button and subscribe because what comes next will shatter your perception of free will. How your brain betrays you when you think you're being rational. Let me tell you about the most dangerous weapon in the manipulator's arsenal. It's not force. It's not fear. It's something you do to yourself without even realizing it. Selective exposure. Here's how it works. Once you've identified with a movement, a leader, or an ideology, your brain automatically starts filtering information. It seeks out content that confirms what you already believe and dismisses anything that contradicts it. You're not doing this consciously. Your brain is protecting you from cognitive dissonance, the psychological pain of holding conflicting beliefs. Manipulators know this, and they weaponize it. Revolutionary leaders throughout history understood this better than most. They didn't just control information. They created entire ecosystems where dissenting views were so rare that people forgot they existed. And here's the twist. They convinced people they were the enlightened ones, that everyone else was brainwashed. The victims of manipulation believed they were the awakened ones. Sound familiar? Look at any polarized debate today. Both sides are absolutely convinced they're the rational ones. Both sides consume media that confirms their worldview. Both sides dismiss the other as brainwashed followers. And both sides are partially right, because both are caught in the same trap. Power Law 17 warns us, keep others in suspended terror by being unpredictable. But modern manipulators don't need to be unpredictable. They just need to keep you in a constant state of emotional arousal. Outrage, fear, righteous anger. These emotions flood your system with cortisol and adrenaline, which literally shut down the parts of your brain responsible for nuanced thinking. You become reactive instead of reflective, tribal instead of objective. And that's exactly where they want you. Here's the really disturbing part. You'll defend this state of mind as passion, as caring, as being informed. You'll wear your outrage like a badge of honor. Meanwhile, you're doing exactly what the blueprint predicted you'd do. Authoritarian systems perfected this. They created environments where questioning became dangerous, where conformity was rewarded and dissent was punished. Not always through violence, sometimes just through social pressure, career consequences, or public shaming. Practical action. For the next week, deliberately consume content that challenges your strongest beliefs. Not to change your mind, but to stress test your thinking. If your beliefs can't survive exposure to opposing viewpoints, they're not beliefs, they're programming. The third step is where things get truly sinister. It's when the manipulator introduces what I call the phantom enemy, an adversary so dangerous, so evil, so existential that any action against them becomes justified. Write filter in the comments if you've caught yourself avoiding information that contradicts your worldview. What topic are you most afraid to research objectively? Like this video and subscribe because the next step reveals how enemies are manufactured from thin air. What if the enemy you hate was designed for you to hate? Here's a truth bomb. The fastest way to unite people isn't through shared values. It's through shared enemies. Love is complicated, hate is simple, and manipulative leaders have been exploiting this for millennia. The third step of the blueprint is enemy fabrication, not finding real enemies, creating them. And the process is disturbingly formulaic. Step 1. Identify a vulnerable group that can't effectively fight back. Step 2. Attribute all societal problems to this group using emotional stories, not factual analysis. Step 3. Dehumanize them until your followers see them as obstacles rather than people. Historical revolutionary movements perfected this. During periods of radical change in the 18th and 20th centuries, first, it was one group, then it was another, then it was anyone who questioned the movement. Thousands suffered, and each action was justified as protecting the greater good. The enemy kept expanding until nearly everyone was a potential threat. Here's the psychological genius of it. Once you've committed to hating an enemy, doubling back means admitting you were wrong. And that's harder than continuing to hate. So you don't just maintain your hatred, you escalate it. You find new reasons to justify it. Your brain literally works overtime to prove you were right all along. Power Law 15 states, crush your enemy totally, but before crushing, you must create. And creating an enemy is disturbingly easy in the age of information warfare. You don't need facts, you need anecdotes. One viral video of a bad actor becomes proof that an entire group is dangerous. One misleading statistic becomes gospel truth repeated across echo chambers. One emotional testimony overrides 1,000 studies showing the opposite. And here's where you become complicit. You share it. You repost it. You add your commentary. You become an unpaid propagandist for someone else's agenda, convinced you're spreading truth and fighting evil. The process is always the same. First, install fear. The economy is struggling. Someone is stealing your opportunities. Crime is rising. Someone is threatening your safety. Your culture is changing. Someone is destroying your values. The fear needs to be vague enough to be everywhere, but specific enough to have a target. Second, misinform. You take real facts and distort them. You amplify isolated incidents and transform them into epidemics. You do it all with such conviction that people stop checking sources. After all, Why would you lie about something so serious? Third, present the scapegoat. And here's the trick. The scapegoat doesn't need to make logical sense. It only needs to make emotional sense. When you're desperate, struggling, frustrated, you want someone to blame. And the manipulative leader kindly points the finger. Practical action. Observe political and social debates around you. Who is being blamed for society's problems? Now ask yourself, is this blame based on concrete evidence or emotional narratives? The answer will disturb you. But the fourth step is the most insidious. It's when the leader doesn't need to do anything anymore. Because at this point, you do the work for them. You become the enforcer without even realizing it. Type enemy in the comments and name one group you've been conditioned to view as a threat without ever directly interacting with them. What narrative are you going to challenge? Like and subscribe because the final step reveals how you become the weapon without realizing it. How ordinary people execute control while believing they're heroes. Here's the final piece that completes the blueprint. Self-enforcing oppression. It's when surveillance, punishment, and conformity become so normalized that people do it to themselves and each other without any centralized command. You become the enforcer, the censor, the informant, and you do it believing you're protecting society from danger. Surveillance states throughout history had this down to a science. Some systems had extraordinary ratios of informants to citizens. But here's the thing, most informants weren't evil monsters. They were regular people who genuinely believed they were protecting their country from threats. Neighbors reported neighbors. Colleagues reported colleagues. All in the name of collective safety. Power Law 46 teaches, never appear too perfect. The genius of this final step is that the leader doesn't need to appear perfect anymore. Because by this point, you've invested so much of your identity into the cause that admitting it's corrupt means admitting you've been complicit in corruption. And that's psychologically unbearable. So you rationalize, you minimize, you justify. Sure, there are some excesses, but the cause is just. Sure, some innocent people got hurt. But you can't make progress without sacrifice. Sure, it's not perfect, but it's better than the alternative. And just like that, you've become the thing you thought you were fighting against. Here's what haunts me. This blueprint isn't limited to authoritarian regimes. It's in corporate environments where toxic leaders thrive because everyone's too afraid to speak up. It's in online communities where purity tests determine who gets destroyed. It's in social movements where the original mission becomes secondary to punishing heretics. You don't need military uniforms and secret police. You just need social pressure, algorithmic amplification, and human psychology. The mechanism is everywhere. In workplaces where questioning leadership means career suicide. In online spaces where one wrong opinion leads to permanent cancellation. In movements where ideological purity matters more than truth or compassion. Practical action. This week, defend someone you disagree with when they're being unfairly attacked. Not because you agree with them, but because defending principles matters more than defending tribes. Watch how uncomfortable this makes you. That discomfort is your programming screaming at you to get back in line. The blueprint of mass control works because it exploits our deepest needs: belonging, purpose, righteousness, safety. Recognizing you're susceptible doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. But recognizing the pattern gives you a choice. You can keep operating on autopilot, or you can wake up. Question everything, including this video. Think critically, even when it isolates you. Choose truth over comfort. Because the antidote to mass manipulation isn't blind optimism. It's aggressive skepticism. It's the courage to think independently, even when everyone calls you a traitor for it. The power is in awareness, in refusing to be a piece on someone else's board, in choosing critical thinking over tribal thinking, in having the courage to stand alone when necessary. Type awake in the comments if you're ready to question the narratives you've been sold. What belief will you challenge today? Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because awareness without action is just entertainment. And we're not here to entertain. We're here to liberate. This content has exclusively educational and historical purposes. It analyzes patterns of psychological manipulation and social control, with the goal of developing critical thinking and awareness about these mechanisms. It does not promote, support, justify, or glorify tyranny, authoritarianism, violence, discrimination, or any form of oppression. Historical references are used as educational examples of behaviors to be avoided and recognized. The objective is to empower viewers with knowledge to identify and resist manipulative tactics in any context of modern life.